Give it a minute. It's got to go to space and back. Hello and good afternoon, everybody.
Hi.
Been a long time. Maybe I remember how to do this show. Welcome to another episode of the Space Show. I am your host, Lieutenant Commander Rebecca Frost, joined, as always, by Admiral Kerry Jackson,
Hi.
Commander Robert Neal, and special guest on the bridge today, Ensign Tony.
Hi, they let me up here to see how things work.
Okay, lower decks.
Yeah, he only gets to be up here for like 20 minutes, and then he's got to get off the bridge.
Back to duty.
Mm-hmm. Good. So, Tony, you watched the episodes?
I did. All 5.
Wow.
I know.
You're only going to get to talk about like 2 of them.
So it goes.
Listen, Commander Riker had a good time down on the holodeck, and Tony has to clean it up.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
cleaning
not
duty,
again.
man. Oh.
Not again.
In a later episode, I believe it's Condundrum, and Riker's like, apparently I spend my vacations on a planet called Risa. Like, yeah, we could just wipe that. Just get rid of that.
I'm very athletic and sporty, as he reads his
And look at this cool talent I have. And he plays the trombone. Deanna's like, wow, cool. So, we are about halfway through season 5 of The Next Generation. And so today we will be talking about these episodes: Hero Worship, Violations, The Masterpiece Society, Conundrum, and Power Play. So let's just dive on in to Hero Worship, where Data rescues an orphaned boy named Timothy from a damaged ship. As a way to repress his own pain, Timothy begins to mimic Data's personality. I wish Leigh was here.
Episode.
Yeah, I wish Leigh was here because I feel like Leigh would have shit to say. But I thought this episode was actually very wholesome, directed by Patrick Stewart. So the Enterprise is sent in to the largest black cloud ever observed to go see what happened to a Starship fleet Vico. So when the Enterprise reaches this location, it finds the badly damaged Vico with many sections exposed to open space. The ship is currently holding due to emergency bulkheads, but it is likely to collapse soon. So Picard orders an away team to rescue any survivors and also retrieve the ship's logs, which cannot be accessed remotely due to all of the emergency bulkheads, which appear to be made of lead or something. So Data, as part of the away team, establishes a link with the ship's computers and is able to rescue a single survivor, a young boy named Timothy. Riker is unable to transport the boy because he is pinned under structural beams of the ship. Data removes the debris, takes Timothy out, and transports him away before the ship collapses on itself. Geordi is able to transfer the ship's files. Many of them are damaged. Timothy lost both his parents on the starship. His mother was an engineer, and his father was a second officer on the bridge. And he suppresses some unspeakable trauma. Timothy may have invaluable information about what happened and how the Enterprise will be able to best handle the Black Cloud itself. So Timothy says that when inside the cloud, the research ship was attacked and armed men boarded it with helmets and phaser rifles. Sensor readings from the ship logs also indicate a possible attack from the cloaked ship at a very close range of 3,000 meters, but it would have to be Romulans or Klingon, who are very far from this section of space, or the Breen, who have outposts in this sector. And the way that Timothy has described the attackers sounds like the Breen, which have only, I believe, been mentioned once before in Next Generation.
When I was watching this episode, I was like, Breen? What? I thought they were from the far future. So then I had to do some research.
No.
And they were in the past too, but they got like a bigger organization going in the future, turned into like an empire or something like that. I don't know.
It's a multi-level marketing scheme.
Yeah.
I'm so impressed with the level of homework you've done.
Rabbit holes.
Geordi says that there is no evidence of anyone transporting aboard the vessel prior to its destruction, so something is amiss. Troy encourages Savior Data to spend time with Timothy. Timothy is astonished to learn that as an android, Data cannot feel any emotions. And so Timothy,
he's like, I'd like that.
With his tiny child brain, decides to also become an android to categorize away his feelings and never feel bad about this ever again. So he becomes an android physically and mentally superior to humans like his mentor. He continues to suppress his memories and tells Data that sometimes he has nightmares. And the way he adopts android mannerisms, so cute. I literally cannot handle it. The way this kid is just constantly turning his head.
Starts combing his hair like Data.
Combing his hair back. God, it's cute.
No, I mean, you're right. That's the only thing that was missing was beep, bop, boop, and him walking, with his arms out like this. I mean,
What does he say?
He's
I'm functioning
doing
at
his best.
optimal, or no, what was it he said?
Oh, I'm functioning at
optimal
Within standard
capacity.
parameters.
within
Yeah,
standard
that's it.
parameters.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start saying that. So when the Enterprise reaches the black cloud, the bridge officers prove unable to handle it in any known way like the other ship. The Enterprise sensors see echoes of its own ship due to the distortions created by the cluster. And as the graviton wave front approaches, Picard is out of options and orders phasers to be fired, which are ineffective. And how lame that, when in doubt, fire lasers.
We got a big cloud in front of us. What should we do?
Shoot it.
Inhale. Oh wait.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How many
Open the
episodes
windows.
of the original series did Kirk fire phasers into a cloud?
To
I mean,
no
come on.
avail.
Things don't change. Centuries later, people still shoot at the weather.
But you'd think they'd teach that in the academy, and that Patrick Stewart
That's
would go,
what
"Oh
they
yeah, I can't
teach.
do that."
That's
That's
what
what
they
they teach.
teach.
Shoot the cloud. Shoot the cloud.
Two
Don't
clouds.
drop
Which
life.
one do I shoot?
Don't drop below, 55 and shoot the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So the attacks on the Enterprise they're getting a little bit worse. They up their shields. That's only making it worse. And they're like, Timothy, you got to give us something else. And Timothy is like, no, I'm an android. I have no memories. And he firmly maintains that the ship was attacked. But when Data tells him that androids do not lie, Timothy says, I killed them all. Commercial break.
He's like,
What a
what?
stellar time for a commercial break. Only to have, I don't want to say a lame resolution, but a pretty tame resolution.
Yeah.
Basically, Timothy believes that the ship was destroyed when his arm touched a computer panel due to the shaking of the ship. But it is likely that that was just a mere coincidence, and Deanna convinces Timothy that he is not to blame. Meanwhile, the attacks on the Enterprise are getting worse, engines are down, shields are barely holding, Picard orders all available energy to the shields, and then Timothy remembers that the vessel also followed the same procedure. Data checks the computer info and asks Picard to drop the shields just seconds before the wavefront hits again. Wavefront hits, it's all fine, and Data has figured this out from the destroyed vessel. Everything's fine. And this is one of those instances, too, where as the captain of the Enterprise, and any ship really, you have to have such an immense trust in everybody on your crew.
Oh, yeah.
Because if Data is telling you minutes before disaster, drop the shields.
Yeah.
When you think it's a threat, too, that's coming
Mhm.
after you,
That's
you
a-
need to have your
yeah.
shields up for.
That's a real
But the
trust
thing
fall
is,
there.
It is a trust fall, but look at the expressions on Picard and Riker's face, because Riker's like, when Data's like, Captain, I need you to drop the shields, Riker has this like, I've played
Are
poker
you
with
serious?
you. Knock that shit off.
Some trivia for this episode. It was during the filming of this episode that the cast and crew learned of the death of Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah.
Had a powerful impact on everyone, especially Marina Sirtis, because her father had passed away exactly 10 years before.
Oh.
So, R.I.P. Gene.
I mean, Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say another thing is this is one of the rare episodes that really shows how dangerous space is, and that Bones was right. And why do we have the Love Boat in space with families and all of these other amenities for an exploration organization? It's nice to keep families together, but if you can beam somebody halfway across the galaxy,
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
and it's not the first time we've had a kid orphaned.
Yeah.
So many kids get orphaned.
That was one of my complaints when the show premiered. Was like, why families on the ship? No, this is bad. This is very bad.
You don't have families on aircraft carriers.
No. But it's a
Well,
good Data episode.
Pilots have a
It
lot
is.
of.
It's a good Data episode. I'll say that. But
It is a
beyond
very
that,
good
it's-
Data episode.
It's pretty forgettable. you
And
know.
I'm really realizing too, I think I empathize the most with children when I'm watching Star Trek episodes centered around children. Otherwise, I don't know how to interact with them in real life. But in
Hello,
Star
small
Trek
human.
You're
episodes,
becoming a perfect Picard, Rebecca.
in Star Trek episodes like this one, I'm like, I can absolutely understand why this kid is doing what he's doing.
Oh, yeah.
So let's move on to a truly horrific episode, Violations. Transporting 3 Yulian mind-probing historians, the Enterprise crew is stymied when some of its members fall into a coma. Deanna Troi, the first member to come through it, cannot recall anything surrounding the incident. I fucking hate this episode, you guys.
Well, here's the thing, and if Leigh were here, he'd say it. Do we need another episode where Troy is raped? Do we need
No.
this?
Seriously?
You know?
So we've got these Yulian mind historians, specialists who telepathically retrieve people's long-forgotten memories from many races. Keiko is the first to kind of be their guinea pig on the Enterprise and has her memories probed or whatever. And she has a session with Tarman and resuscitates some pleasant memories. And she remembers how her grandmother used to paint while humming a pleasant melody. Blah, 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 blah.
But does it willingly, okay?
Does it willingly.
Yeah.
She absolutely consents to this behavior. Tarman says that the Yulians are planning to construct a vast library to host these retrieved memories from the various species, and he believes that the history of civilization resides in the memories of its people. Great mission statement. Cool idea.
How are they going to execute? I want to see their project plan.
Yeah,
how,
like
how are
what's
you going to have all these people's memories just out there?
what's
Show me.
QA like? Like, how can we guarantee the safety of everybody who participates or chooses to participate?
What storage medium are they going to use?
Yeah.
How do you contain a memory? Are they just going to have someone read it out and write it? And put
Is
in
it like the
databanks?
Inside
I
Out
mean,
balls, right?
Yeah.
Is
Like,
it story time? Is it storyteller time? And here's this memory from this person.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Yeah.
It's Tupperware, is what it is.
Clearly. How did I not think of that?
So Tarman is the overbearing parent to Jev, who is one of the other Yulians there and likes to demean him in public. So we can see bullying begins at home, you guys. So Jev abuses his abilities on non-volunteers against their code. Flat out. The Yulians never probe memories without the permission of the involved, and Jev breaks this rule. So Jev enters the nightmare-altered memories of his victims as a key character in these memories. So Deanna has this memory of Will trying to have sex with her, and she is saying no. They are serving on the same ship, and it would not be appropriate. And so Jev...
Now,
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Was this a scene from earlier in the series that I've forgotten, or was
No.
this... Okay.
No, this is just an interaction that I am sure they have had, because if I know Riker, he's going to try to get some
Well,
from
yes.
Imzadi, which is but I'm sure in the real memory he respects her wishes.
Yeah, he
Of
stopped.
course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Because he might be a pervert, but he's a gentleman. You know?
He's
Exactly.
a gentleman pervert.
And he's got Rezzies on Risa, so you know.
Right.
Rezzies on Risa.
And Ensign Rowe apparently as well. We'll find out.
God, we
later on.
gotta talk about that. So Jev enters this memory, pretends to be Will. Deanna says no, and Jev Will just mind rapes her, I assume, and this puts Deanna in a coma because I don't know what else to do. Riker questions Jev as Jev was the last person to see Deanna before she went into a coma, and he is totally offended by the questioning. That night, Riker also has a dream about how an ensign died in engineering when he ordered the bulkheads to be closed while she was still not evacuated. Riker did this to contain a radiation leak, but Jev enters the nightmare and drives the point that Riker killed the ensign by deliberately abandoning her, causing her death, and Riker, also traumatized, goes into a coma.
I call bullshit. You're a command officer. You're a command officer. You have been captain of a starship, granted for 2 minutes, but you were captain of a starship. You know that you have to make those hard decisions.
Yeah, so I agree. You know that you do have to make those hard decisions. I think you can still be haunted by those decisions.
You can be haunted by it, but I think that part of being we have seen in this series and others where captains have made calls that they've questioned over time, but they're like, I've not fallen into a coma because of it. And I don't think that I think the Starfleet would have some serious issues if every time somebody's like, close the bulkhead.
I'm out.
Rip.
Well, as we learn, though, the coma is not something that the person does to themselves. It's what
agreed.
This asshole does. You know?
The comas resemble the rare Iracine syndrome without the associated histamine level change. Sometimes I think they just make up diseases.
So there was no allergies related to it? Is that what that means?
So Beverly investigates further and determines that Deanna's and Riker's brain waves have an electromagnetic residue in the thalamus, which is associated with long-term memories. Then Beverly Crusher has a nightmare. She has a nightmare about visiting her husband's dead body with Picard, and Jev enters the dream in the place of Picard. I actually would love to see this scene normal and not in the nightmare state. Like, I would be really curious to see Beverly's like emotional reaction with Picard at retrieving and identifying her dead husband's body. I think that would be a really fascinating scene to see.
Something else that we saw in this scene was something that we almost saw in the series, was Picard with hair. Because when they tested him,
man's got hair.
That's right. He had.
When they
hair
tested
going
him,
on.
they were like, I don't know if we can do a bald captain. So they gave him a hair piece, and I think it was the same piece that we saw in this.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw what we could have gotten as, season 1 Picard.
Yeah, I didn't. I like bald. I like bald.
Oh yeah, he definitely looks better with. I mean, it's the same reason I started shaving my head. It got too thin and receding up top. You just got to get rid of all of it.
Did you see? I think I was looking at. I think it was like an issue of TV Guide or something with Patrick Stewart on the cover, and the headline is Patrick Stewart lets his hair down. Man's totally bald.
That's fantastic.
Like,
see what we did?
Are you being so cheeky?
Look at what we did. Oh, we're TV Guide. Oh,
look at the funny joke.
Yeah.
So Beverly traumatized, coma. Troy wakes up after 3 days, but with a total blackout regarding the incident. After eliminating any other imaginable causes, Picard has to suspect the Yulians, which is so crazy because at first when everyone's like, what could it possibly be? And you're at home on your couch shouting, maybe it's the new guys.
Yeah, exactly. What troubleshooting 101 is what new thing was introduced into the system that could have caused this problem?
What could it be?
That's why I was screaming at this episode, because Picard is so goddamn smart, but for some reason he's like, well, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. They're mind control people.
But they're not mind control people. They just happen to access memories. And it's memories.
They're doing good. They're doing good.
They're in here doing stuff.
Professor X wouldn't hurt anybody.
Wait a minute.
So Geordi and Data research all 11 planets that the Yulians have cataloged memories from in the past and check for instances of unexplained comas. And they find that the Yulian visits coincide with documented instances of nightmare comas. So when Picard asks the Yulians to confine themselves, they ask for a chance to defend themselves. Jev offers to probe Deanna's memories to find out what happened to her right before the coma.
I could do it, yeah.
Let someone back in there.
I'll go back in. I mean, in for the first time.
Yeah.
Troy accepts the memory probe, and he makes her believe that it's his father, Tarman, doing all of the naughty.
Yeah.
So during the mind probe, Jev takes Deanna back to the same memory, but makes it look like his father that took Riker's place instead of him. Data and Geordi come to do some research, and they find that only one Yulian was present for all incidences of unexplained comas on all of the planets, and that was our boy Jev. Jev enters Deanna's cabin and tries to physically force himself on her. And then Worf enters, thank God, and knocks him out. Beverly and Riker recover from their comas. Please, someone give Deanna some counseling herself.
Yes.
Or give her a break, at least. Writers,
give her a
come
minute.
Well, and I was looking here, and the writers were women, both of them.
The
teleplay by Pamela Gray and Jerry Taylor. But and then you get Pamela Gray, Sherry Goodhart's, and T. Michael. Letter T. Michael.
T. Michael.
Tabitha.
Could be. I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. It's just, just a disturbing.
And I'd wondered timing-wise, where did this fall in relation to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise? Because like, if we're going to deal with dreams, not quite close enough time-wise. There was a big enough gap because the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise movies were 84 to 91, and then the gap 94, 2003, and 2010. So, but it could have been they could have been somewhere in the. What if we did a dream-ish nightmare thing?
January 27th of 92. So
it's a year.
And Freddy's Dead, the final nightmare, arrived in September 13th, 1991.
So it could have been in somebody's headspace, but it's still like, how many times you can have to just get abused like this and nobody says anything?
And it's like, walk it off, Deanna.
Yeah, it is. It is. Walk it off. Yeah.
As per many of your previous instances of being mind raped, you'll be fine. You have proven to be fine.
Have a cup of tea and just.
So what we need to see.
Take the night.
What we needed to see as a follow-up episode to this was Loxana finding out about it, being like,
"Oh hell no,
I got this."
That would have been good.
And then she goes after that guy. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Love.
Yep.
So the writing staff for this episode created memory flashbacks for every major character before Riker, Troy, and Beverly were chosen. One involved Ensign Rowe's actions, resulting in a court-martial. And another was LaForge's traumatic childhood memory of being caught in a fire, which was used in the previous episode, Hero Worship, instead.
Yep.
Ah, okay.
Fascinating.
There you go. I would have liked to have seen that Ensign Rowe thing, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so do we never see that?
No.
I don't remember anything like that.
I don't think so.
Damn.
Hint.
But
No.
it would have been an opportunity for an Ensign Rowe courtroom scene, though. You would have loved that.
Bingo, bango, sign me up.
It's hitting all of the Rebecca buttons there.
Seriously. So the next episode, the Masterpiece Society. Oh, Tony,
I got to get back to work. I got back to the lower decks.
Lower decks.
Back to lower decks.
Thanks for letting me come play for a little bit. I'll see you guys later.
Thanks, Tony.
You're looking holodeck 4.
Bye-bye. So, moving on to the Masterpiece Society, working together to prevent the annihilation of a perfectly balanced, isolated society with no contingency for outside visitors may, in fact, destroy it. The Enterprise is on a mission to the Moab sector, everybody. Isn't that fun? To warn the human colony in an artificial paradisiac biosphere on planet Moab 4's southern continent of the approach of a massive stellar fragment from a decaying neutron star, which will impact with seismic force, causing a tectonic disaster. Prime Directive.
Yeah.
Is this interference?
Gray
area.
I mean, they're trying to preserve, life, which is their calling, but it's a huge interference to be like, oh, by the way, you're in the middle of the Vogon construction fleet. Good luck.
Yeah. It all depends on the writer, really, whether it's a Prime Directive situation or not. Because if you look at Star Trek Into Darkness, I mean, that's the first 10 minutes are some major Prime Directive. I mean, major.
Come on, they weren't supposed to be seen. They weren't supposed to be seen. They were trying to do a good thing there. Yeah. Come on, they jumped into a volcano.
Exactly.
Ooh. So we're astonished by the discovery of this human colony, as no records exist, and neither are there any Starfleet ships recorded missing in the sector. But we have 6 days before the stellar fragment passes by the planet. So the biosphere is led by a competent, considerate leader, Aaron Connor. The Enterprise is forced to physically travel to the planet, as Aaron ignores Picard's warnings of earthquakes caused on the planet due to the stellar core fragment. Data says that the star fragment will have a density of numbers and will cause quakes far higher than 8.7, which is the max that their biosphere can withstand. Aaron's world is technologically slightly behind the latest human advancements. He's not aware of transporters, and the biosphere uses an obsolete subspace relay for communications. He does allow a small Enterprise party to visit their society, which, after 8 generations of selective breeding to nearly eliminate the remaining human risk factors, they believe far superior. Okay, so not only do we have some Prime Directive questions, I also have some genetically modified questions. Yeah. Because I thought we weren't supposed to do this.
Save those until Deep Space Nine.
Oh, God.
It's one of those situations where, I mean, nobody knew that they were there. They're humans, and they decided to do this. So I don't think that there's... I mean, they have their rules. We have ours. I
think that the eugenics rules came strictly through the Federation. And I think that if you look at these as we're doing this as our own thing, because they said that we left and just, damn the torpedoes.
Yeah.
They exist outside the Federation, obviously. So now you have the Federation imposing their will on a pre-warp society, for one, which is again in violation of the Prime Directive.
But I also got the feeling that, because we're talking about Khan here,
Mm-hmm.
the eugenics wars with Khan were all about specifically scientific genetic manipulation, where I got the feeling that this race was more about selective breeding as opposed to genetic manipulation. I could be wrong.
No. I think this was. I think
Yeah.
it was selective breeding, more so than specific manipulation.
Because
because specifically this society, every member is bred for a specific role,
Yes.
and so Aaron considers it to be a perfect society.
Yeah, and your spouses are picked for you. And so that's why I'm thinking it's more about selective breeding as opposed to genetic manipulation like Khan. I could be wrong.
But I mean, in this case, you could make it in a very strange case of arranged marriages in that sense. But everybody has a place in the society, so everybody, it's more like I would say like a ant colony where everybody has a specific role.
There you go.
You don't necessarily have a queen, but you have people who have their place in a given society, in a given structure. And society falls apart without it.
I'm going to do some research. I'm going to go watch A Bug's Life right after this and do some research and see. I think that we might have something here. Okay.
You guys have done some research.
Here's what we found.
Okay.
All right. This colony was formed 200 years prior the episode to create a perfect society using both genetic engineering and selective breeding. So 200 years prior, and then Robert, the timeline.
I mean, the rough timeline puts this both right around the beginning of the Federation, or at least post Zephyr Cochrane. So Warp Society, and the transporters were a known thing, but not a highly used thing. So I can kind of see them being thrown off by that.
Yeah.
Because we see down the road early uses of the transporter. People are like, I'm not getting on that thing.
Yeah.
You've got to be crazy.
Well, they use shuttles. They wouldn't use the transporters to go down to the planet. That's in Enterprise. That'll come up. They beam objects, but anything living, they just wouldn't take a chance.
Like, forget that.
Yeah.
So
especially after Admiral Archer's dog.
So where's the creation of their society in relation to eugenics wars?
It seems, if I had to try to map it, if I looked at dates and everything to map it, I would say it comes up pretty close. So they may have been sent out right after the eugenics wars to go, we can do this the right way.
Interesting. Okay.
Although Khan was created more in our timeline, though, really, wasn't
he? Yeah, but I mean, these would still be, even so, even depending on which part, where Khan falls, even if they had the eugenics wars, these scientists could have been like, you know what? That was a great idea, poorly executed. We can do it better and broader.
Because we're smarter than those guys.
Yeah. And where were those scientists?
Yeah.
What happened to them? Why weren't there statues of these people somewhere going, these were the people who created the society?
Interesting. Okay.
So how does this, I'm curious to know, and this is for people much smarter than I in history, how does this relate to the use of the word Moab? Like, is that...
The Lost 13th Colony. Oh, wait, different show.
That's a lot of other reading that...
Yeah. Because I'm not even sure of the origin of Moab. I mean, I tend to believe Robert that it's some Mormon thing, but
I'm just curious to know the etymology of that. So anyway, of the society, Martin, who's another person within the society, is an interpreter of the ancient rules and is staunchly opposed to any contact with outsiders. So despite their rigid rule never to leave, scientist Hannah Bates is allowed to come aboard to work out a method to deflect the approaching fragment jointly with Geordi by a tractor beam and updates the biosphere itself. Hannah has impressed Geordi with an idea of a multi-phase tractor beam that can be implemented on the Enterprise to deflect the star fragment enough to reduce the seismic impact. She goes onto the ship to help him set it up. Geordi, as a blind man, would not have even been born in their society. And they have very good conversation about his air quotes deformity and why would he not deserve to live, which I think it's a really good conversation to be had about, people with disabilities in our society, and why shouldn't they be allowed, right? So Picard disapproves of genetic predisposition, air quotes, on principle. Troy becomes a platonic intimate with Connor, who would be prepared to accept her even as a genetically inferior mate. Have you seen her?
Come on. Genetically inferior. Look in the mirror,
She can
buddy.
read your freaking emotions, dude.
Yeah.
Despite putting their minds together, Hannah and Geordi can't work out a system to sustain the energy burst to the tractor beams. But finally, Geordi gets the idea of pulsating the energy to the beam in short bursts instead of one single continuous stream. This can be handled by the hardware without being burnt out. The deflection works at the last second before energy would have been fatally overexpanded. Colony is saved from impact. But Hannah reports fatal tectonic damage, which Geordi soon finds to be faked in order to get out of her controlled life. So Hannah, she's like, oh, I have seen what the world has to offer.
Once a girl has seen a replicator.
Once a girl has been on a starship.
I'm not going back once I see a replicator. I'm not going back.
But also, another part of their conversation as well, when they find the solution to this, is it's because of Geordi's visor. And he says, hey, we never would have discovered this without my disability. So what now? And she's like, oh, a whole new world. And she wants to be where the people are. She sees there's so much more science to be had. Please let me leave these genetically modified imbeciles.
She got a science boner and decided that she needs to explore.
So she officially requests asylum. But the colony's delicate balance can't cope with such a change because they are very selectively bred. And without her piece of genetics...
It's a link that is missing.
They're throwing everything for a loop. Mm-hmm. So Connor, although he is tempted himself to leave, feels guilty and desperately tries to save his society. Excuse me. Picard goes to the surface to meet Connor, and Deanna confesses to Connor that she has feelings for him. Ow. Because he's dumb. Picard tells Connor that he is obliged to provide asylum to humans if asked. Connor says that Hannah and others leaving would destroy the lives of thousands. Picard speaks to the colonists directly. He implores colonists to consider the matter carefully before deciding, but Hannah is resolute and says no to any sort of delays.
I'm going.
Eventually, 23 other colonists seek asylum on the Enterprise. Picard feels the ship has violated the Prime Directive and might have been as fatal to the colony as the star fragment itself.
Oh.
We should never have interfered in the first place.
Yep.
So were the communicators not working in subspace, so they couldn't say, "Hey, Starfleet, conundrum. What do we do here? How should we handle this?"
Oh, we don't want to run this by the higher ups. Ooh.
That's true. They really didn't check in with Starfleet, did they?
No. They were just like, "Well, there's a comet. Oh, look, there's people there. Fix it."
Which is hilarious.
Let them know and then fix it.
Which is hilarious considering the next episode when they have a whole conversation about, oh, should we talk to Starfleet about this?
Yeah.
So
we got this. We know what we're doing.
Since Gene Roddenberry had proposed that zippers would no longer exist in the future,
which I don't.
Nuts, bolts, paper in my future, they are generally hidden in the clothes worn on and off the Enterprise. However, in this engineered society under this biosphere, perhaps to show their less than perfect and less technologically advanced society, zippers are a prominent aspect of their outfits.
Wow.
Honestly, kind of cool. I think that's a pretty cool note. And then also the idea for this story passed through 6 writers, and they couldn't figure out how to define a genetically engineered society. I wonder if, it went through 6 different writers because it all just kept coming back to Nazis, Like, nope, dang it, we've done a World War II again.
Could we make this a little less Third Reichy?
Could we make this a little less white supremacy?
Yeah.
I don't know how to segue to the next one. Conundrum.
I mean, it was a pretty good episode. It does what Star Trek's supposed to do, and that is make you think and ask questions and
yes,
go down a wormhole and the whole thing.
And also, I love it when episodes in general do this, where there's not really a happy ending or a perfect solution.
Exactly.
Because even
and kind of both sides are right. Kind of
both sides are right, and also both sides are kind of wrong.
Yeah.
Yes. And another thing, if Hannah's leaving was going to cause chaotic upheaval, what is 24 people leaving going to do that colony?
Yeah, it's going to really fuck it up.
Yeah, I would be curious to revisit Moab 4 and see what's going on there.
This is Moab 4. Oh wait, sorry.
And they're all just like deformed mutants because.
Hey, I've been to Moab. You're right.
Yeah. But tis.
Take that, Moab. You tourist attraction town.
Listen,
Take that.
they're really struggling right now.
I know they are.
Conundrum. When an approaching alien ship wipes their memory, the crew struggles to put back together what happened. A classic Star Trek whodunit. The Enterprise is heading for the Epsilon solar system, and Riker is having trouble working with Ro as Ro changes the ship's operating procedures without first getting approval from Riker. Man, they fight. These two kids cannot get along.
Or can they?
A suddenly approaching alien ship uses scanners so strong that all crew members, including Data, lose most of their personal memories, even names and ranks, yet retain their operational and language skills. Each member of the crew tries to determine their role on the ship based on the location they were at and when they regain their consciousness. The alien ship has been destroyed, they assume, by the Enterprise, although there's no battle damage. External communications are down, the computer banks have been selectively wiped, and there is no interface to the ship's computer. Worf and Picard have a tiff about who is the leader of the vessel, since Worf is also dressed properly with military honors.
I have a baldric.
I am much larger than you. I am in charge.
My forehead is larger than yours. I am in charge.
They figure...
My forehead has ridges.
Therefore, I am superior. They figure that their ship has phasers and photon torpedoes and a shield, so it must be a battleship. Ensign Ro works with Geordi and Riker to bring the ship's systems back online. Worf wants to make the ship ready for combat as a top priority, while Picard says that they should first figure out who they are and what is their purpose. So kind of nice, they all just kind of default back into their assigned roles without really knowing that is their assigned role. Geordi goes to engineering to figure out if he can reconnect the ship's systems to the computers and to the bridge. Slowly, he's able to get communications, navigations, and weapons back online. He's also able to access the ship's manifest. Until then, Worf has assumed the captain role. Beverly works on a way to bypass the brain's neural pathways and figures out a way to access their own memories. By the way, she's interacting with this girl who was cliff diving and hurt her shoulder. It seems like a very odd choice to pay this extra for this scene, but what do I know?
Some studio head's granddaughter needed a favor or something.
Yeah.
Get her in the union,
She needed to meet her SAG health insurance minimums. So Data was in 10 forward at the time and now thinks he's a bartender.
I loved that.
Can make the perfect drink.
I love that.
Which is nice considering that he and Deanna were having a whole chess game and she bet him that he would have to make her a drink, and so automatically, of course, he would assume, oh, I guess I'm the bartender. Let's see. Some, including the ship's manifest, are altered. It establishes Picard as the commanding officer, Commander McDuff as an executive officer rather than Riker, who is second officer. Who the F is this guy?
He's the XO.
This is like that episode of Rick and Morty. I wish Tony didn't have to leave. This is like that episode of Rick and Morty with the Morty's with the imaginary friend creatures, and you never have a bad memory with them because if you had a bad memory, anyway, whatever.
Oh yeah.
The Enterprise is apparently on a crucial mission in a war the Federation has been conducting for years against the Lycian race. The ship's logs say that the Lycians have a new weapon through which they have captured 14 Federation ships recently and held their crews captive on their planet. The new weapon shoots an energy beam that wipes off computer banks and impacts memory and functioning of the crew, much like what happened to the Enterprise. The orders of the Enterprise from Starfleet say that they are to cross over into Lycian territory and destroy their Central Command starbase. Deanna wants confirmation of this order from Starfleet headquarters, but orders prohibit any subspace communications. Convenient. While other crew members behave differently, parentheses Riker and Ro hook up, the Enterprise crosses into Lycian territory on Picard's orders. They are confronted by a Lycian destroyer who is far inferior to the Enterprise, blah, blah, blah. The Lycians open fire on the Enterprise, forcing Picard to return fire, thereby destroying it. I don't really care about any of that. What I really care about is the Riker B-plot, where Riker now has 2 women throwing themselves at him. And very different experiences, because each time he's with Deanna's like, you are very familiar to me in Zadi. And it seems to come from a very deep emotional place. And then when he's alone with Ro is like, I bet we were married and I bet we had sex a lot. And
well, Riker's like, oh, well, okay.
And did you notice how well Riker is able to pivot and play both sides?
Yes, it's
so
disgusting.
Beautifully.
It was disgusting.
It's like, that's in him though. That's
it's leisure. It's leisure suit
That's
Riker.
part of his makeup, man. That's anyway. He is the Kirk of this show. That's what Roddenberry always said. He's my Captain Kirk. But he just so smooth. Want to leave the room? The other one comes in,
doesn't even question a single goddamn thing.
And you could see his body even changes. He's like,
Rebecca, I'm surprised that you're arguing against this as much as you have for the past 4.5 seasons. Been Riker is always down to clown.
Yeah,
always.
I know. I was just hoping if he had his memories wiped, he might develop a conscience of some sort. Not to say Riker doesn't have a conscience. Anyway, so they go to destroy the Lycian thing, and Picard's like, I don't know about this, and Macduff is like, you have to. And then if we find out Macduff is an alien whose planet has been at war with the Lycians, and everyone gets their memories back.
What was great about that is that all the members of the bridge are all like, this is too easy. This doesn't seem right. This, something's up here.
Destroy
and there's Macduff going, you've got to do it.
Like, he's getting pissed, yeah.
They're like, they have barely any firepower or shields. I don't understand why this is a long war. I don't understand it, That's what I loved was the team, even though they couldn't remember things, were instinctive. Their instincts kicked in.
There is the moment where Macduff.
I'm glad you said that.
There is the moment where Macduff goes up to the security panel where Worf is, and it's like, you better fire. And Worf is like, I don't think I will. And love when a team comes together.
But Kerry makes a great point about everybody falls into their thing. Because who's missing from this episode?
Wesley?
Guinan
Guinan
isn't there.
Who would have picked up immediately that, something's wrong?
She would have.
Is everything okay up there?
Since we've seen Guinan, huh?
She would have noticed. You can't have Guinan around when stuff like this happens, otherwise you got no show.
Clever.
Just throwing that out there.
But again, they all pivot to their instincts. They all question. They all make these judgments. Riker is doing the thing with the 2 women. It's instinct.
Let me show you this instrument I know how to play. Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. But the best part of the episode was the final moments.
The final scene where Riker goes into 10 forward and sees Deanna and Rose sitting at a table together.
Which is a nightmare that every guy has had. You go into a place and there's your 2 exes talking. That's like the biggest goddamn nightmare every guy has ever had.
And I love the way Deanna handles this because, she and Ro obviously are going to talk about it. And Deanna, ever the consummate professional, she's like, hey, listen, like Ro is like, hey, Deanna was telling me that sometimes like under these specific circumstances, people might do different things. And Riker's like, oh, cool. So you're not like mad or anything? And Deanna's like, no, I don't think so. But if, you want to talk about it, you know where my office is.
I'm honestly surprised he didn't say, let's have a threesome at that moment, because that's just something that Riker would do.
He can't just propose that in 10 forward. But I wonder if he walked in.
Where else on the ship are you going to?
I do wonder if he walked in and was like, oh, no. Well, hold on a minute. This might be beneficial for old Riker over here.
The only other way to shoot this scene is to have him walk in, see that and just be like, nope,
Turn right around.
I want no part of this.
Bye-bye.
That's exactly how I would have shot it. I would have said, writers, I'm sorry, I'm changing the ending. I know that you two have these great lines that you want to deliver as actors, but no, this is a chance for some funny.
Well, and the final shot
go.
of the episode too is him chin on his hand. Oh, brother. And then roll the credits.
Like, I'm going to pay for this.
Oh, boy.
Wah, wah.
But how, again, this relationship between Deanna and Riker. I keep banging this gavel, but come on. He's slept with Crusher. He's now slept with Ro. He's constantly
making his way through the Enterprise.
He is, and she's just like, oh, that will.
Oh, that will.
He's just,
But we can't fire him because he's captain material.
I don't understand their relationship. I never have. And I even read the book Mzadi. I still don't understand their relationship.
This episode won an Emmy for Outstanding Individual Achievement in Special Visual Effects.
Okay.
Which I can see, because when they do shoot Macduff with a laser, his body does that cool, weird thing. And that was kind of cool. Thought that was quite impressive. Moving on to the last episode, Power Play. A long-lost ship is found on a planet where cosmic storms prevented detection for 200 years. When a surface landing goes wrong, the away team is beamed back with a few extra surprises. This is just a classic. We beamed down on the planet, and then we came back not quite right. So
Body possession.
Possession. Yeah. So they discover the USS Essex, a Federation starship missing for 200 years on the moon of the planet of Mabu 6. Anyway, Deanna says that she can sense someone alive on the surface of the moon. Riker, Data, and Deanna take a shuttle down. Some fun visual effects here as well with the shuttle. Like it looked very like a physical prop, like a tiny mini filmed through clouds. And they crash. Riker breaks his arm. And the electromagnetic storm is still raging, and their tricorders cannot pick up any life signs, but Deanna insists that there is life. And Miles beams down with a pattern enhancer, fully aware of the risks to his life, but right then, lightning strikes the away team and knocks everybody down. Riker's the only one of the away team who, after having been knocked unconscious, remains himself. Riker somehow manages to assemble the pattern enhancer and beams everybody up to the ship. Once at the helm, Data tries to convince Riker to steer the ship towards the southern pole of the moon, but Riker orders to maintain current orbit. Data and Miles try to take over the bridge, but Riker transfers control to engineering. Troy, O'Brien, and even Data, apparently possessed, grab their guns on the bridge and head towards 10 forward. There, they take 17 hostages, including Keiko and her baby, demanding that the ship steer to the southern pole where the Essex is. Picard exchanges himself for 5 of the hostages, and Dr. Crusher figures out the away team is probably affected by an ionic phenomenon, maybe a life form superimposing its neural patterns on our people. This probably did not affect Riker because he's got a boo-boo, and they don't like that.
Yeah. Well,
it's not perfect.
We saw the light was about to go into him, and then it does not. It goes away. So
he's got ouchie. No, thank you.
It was because he was in extreme pain, and then the guy went, "Oh, I'm not going there."
Oh. So this inspires Geordi to prepare and man a pain gun, which isn't that every gun? Anyway.
Not a water gun.
Cattle prod?
Water gun is fun.
Yeah.
Not for my cats. Anyway. So Geordi creates a plasma gun, and Ensign Rowe, and Ensign Rowe will penetrate the 10 forward shields, and Beverly will work on a containment for the aliens for when they're taken out of the crew members. Back in 10 forward, Deanna introduces herself as Captain Bryce Schumack of the Essex. Data is First Officer Stephen Mullen, and Miles is the Security Chief Morgan Kenny. They've survived for 200 years as spirits in the ionic storms. Their consciousness was absorbed in the magnetic currents of the storm on the moon when their ship was struck by lightning, and they need to escape the moon. The Enterprise team is getting in position, and Geordi needs 45 minutes to execute his plan. And I love when they're like, Geordi, you got to speed it up. There's no way this can take 45 minutes. And so Picard is stalling for time the best that he can. Bryce Bryce tells
Howard?
it's what my eyes saw. Bryce tells Picard that once over the southern pole, he wants the Enterprise to beam the mortal remains of the crew from the ship and take them to Earth for a proper burial. Geordi executes his plan, and just before firing the plasma phaser, Data moves out of focus and survives. He forces Picard to abandon the plan, or else he will kill everyone in 10 forward. And this is one of those episodes where I do love to see Brent Spiner having a little fun. Because he gets to be a little bit different than regular Data. So Picard allows the trio safe passage to the transporter in the cargo bay, and so that they can get the mortal remains. Picard tells Bryce that he doesn't think he is Bryce. Bryce beams up hundreds of these spirits and admits to Picard that they are convicts from their world of Uxma,
Kneel before Zod.
who were condemned to spend their life on the moon, which is a penal colony. They tried to escape on the Essex, but it crashed. Riker and Beverly activate the containment shield inside the cargo bay. Bryce threatens to kill everybody in the cargo bay. We got a real standoff here. Like, no, I'm gonna kill all you hundreds of spirits. No, I'm gonna kill you 10 Enterprise people. But Picard counters by saying that they are willing to sacrifice themselves to save the ship, which leads to my least favorite type of resolution of, oh, you're just willing to die? Well, then never mind, I guess.
You're no fun.
And then leave.
Yeah. Okay, so but can we go back to Love Boat in Space? Picard's like, we will all die to a man. Did you ask any of the civilians about this? Because I'm sure they might have some questions there.
Yeah, I got family on this ship.
Because also we get some really horrific scenes with Kiko and Molly and Miles, where evil Miles is like not nice, not very nice.
Oh yeah, it was almost a rape there. If it hadn't have been for Data to say, "Hey, knock it off." It was Deanna. It was Deanna that stopped him. Yeah.
Good. She knows a thing or two. So, in the scene where the away team is thrown backwards, Marina Sirtis broke her coccyx, her tailbone. It was an injury that caused pain for more than a month and made sitting extremely painful. She was the only one in the group who actually performed the stunt herself. She later reflected that anyone could have done it, really, because her face was barely even visible in the final shot. It could have been Worf in Troy's costume, and we wouldn't have known the difference. I included that piece of trivia because that is my personal worst roller derby injury. I wound up sitting in midair, and I landed right on my ass on the cement. And to this day, I can't sit for long periods of time because it hurts my butt.
Ow.
Yeah. And also, lastly, seatbelts make a rare appearance in this episode.
Which I appreciated.
Yeah. So that's
it's an okay episode.
It was fine. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you. I barely paid attention to it. But personally, really liked Hero Worship. I thought that was a fantastic episode. And Conundrum, I really liked that episode as well. It's just a classic whodunit. Well, I don't know. What do you guys think? Best episodes ever?
No. Well, so far, maybe they're good episodes.
I mean,
but we've got a couple coming up that are solid.
Yeah, I mean, as we're watching the season, of course, we're still in the shadow of Darmok, but with his arms open and all that shit. But you can see that the writers' room and everybody is really figured the show out. They've got it dialed in,
Mm-hmm.
Mostly, because we did get violations.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Just saying. But I mean, there's a couple coming up there's one coming up in this next batch, but the last 7 episodes have just hit after hit coming up.
Well, I'm very excited. So in the next episode, we will talk about episodes 16 through 20, which include Ethics, The Outcast, Cause and Effect, directed by Jonathan Frakes, The First Duty, and Cost of Living. And also Ethics the teleplay was done by Ronald D. Moore. So very excited to see that one.
Yeah, Cause and Effect is coming up. That's one that always comes up when you're talking next gen. It's
really?
It's one of those top 10. Do you remember that one?
Gosh. Oh gosh. Well, yeah. I'm excited.
It's and again, it's Frakes directing. So
Yeah. And then First Duty looks like it's also written by Ronald D. Moore. So
yes.
very exciting stuff coming up.
Yes,
Thank
indeed.
you, as always, once again, for joining us on this fantastic voyage through the stars. And we will see you next time on the Space Show, where we will continue going where no man has gone before, but a lot of people have gone before. Live long and prosper, bitches.